you. Before I begin my talk tonight, I would like to send love and compassion to the Ohlone First Nations people, whose land we are all gathered upon. Thank you. 13 years ago, I was almost murdered. I met and married a man who nearly killed me. Pillow on my face, his hands around my neck, I had to fight to stay alive. In fighting back, I discovered a new perspective, that not only did I deserve to live a really good life and push that out towards the world. Finally, free from his grip, I grabbed the phone and alerted the police, and I am alive and well standing before you today. The Dalai Lama says, love and compassion are necessities, not luxuries, and that without them, humanity cannot survive. I almost did not survive that fateful night. Compassion begins in the neurochemicals of the brain. Oxytocin is one of the hormones responsible for compassion. It's produced in the hypothalamus, transported to the pituitary gland, and then released into our blood. It peaks in men and women during orgasm, and now more research is finding that this bonding hormone is also responsible for our capacity for trust and empathy. Low levels of oxytocin are associated with violence and suicide. The microcosm of my former relationship was deficient in love and compassion. And the macrocosm, our world, is deficient in love and compassion. As evidenced by endless wars, the gap between the rich and the poor is growing, violence is becoming normalized, and homelessness is growing. And this world, this beautiful home that we all share, is suffering, and so are her inhabitants. Jordan Grafman, a neuroscientist, conducted a brain imaging study. In this study, he looked at the pleasure centers of our brains. These pleasure centers are most active when we experience things like money, sex, and dessert. And for the participants of this study, they were equally active when they saw someone giving money to charity. When we experience a compassionate act, even as a third party, the pleasure centers of our brains are activated. And it was the compassionate act of a nurse over 20 years ago when I was working as a medical assistant that propelled me to become a nurse myself. We worked at a local trauma center, and she was an ICU nurse. Her patient was withdrawing from heroin. He had broken free from his restraints, ripped out his IV lines, and was about to remove his breathing tube. And it wasn't necessarily his erratic behavior that got my attention. It was the manner in which she responded to him. She moved in a way that was beyond professional. She acted with radical empathy. It permeated the space and pierced my heart, and that's when I knew I wanted to become a nurse. Thank you. I now get to travel the world and assist in birth. Dr. Huanini K. Trask, in her book From a Native Daughter, talks about the concept of predatory individualism. Predatory individualism was forced onto the Native Hawaiians after occupation. Before this, they were an interdependent society that lived closely in harmony with nature, and this is why they flourished and prospered. When we lose contact with loving and living for each other, we fail to thrive. The World Health Organization, in an effort to decrease infant and maternal morbidity and mortality rates, set the millennial goals. A Johns Hopkins affiliate by the name of JPIGO has developed classes to help achieve these goals, and I train healthcare workers overseas in these classes in life-saving skills. And what I have found in Oakland, in Bangladesh, in Haiti, and in Guatemala is that women, in their most vulnerable of moments, when they are literally and figuratively naked, do this amazing thing. They push a human being into the world. And it's actually with the help of oxytocin, because it causes contractions. And the birth workers, and the radical birth workers overseas. Many work with no electricity, some don't have any running water, and Some don't even have any blankets to greet the babies when they're born to keep them warm. So why do they help? And why do we all help? Compassionate behavior itself is a motivator, because when you do good, you feel good. And not only does it feel good to behave compassionately, it may also prolong your life. Researchers Orr, Hoag, and Chen published a study in the Journal of Brain, Behavior, and Immunity that measured the relative telomere length in loving-kindness meditators. A telomere is like the last part of each DNA strand, sort of like the cap. Shorter telomere lengths are associated with chronic stress and accelerated aging. Loving-kindness meditation is derived from the Buddhist tradition of unselfish warmth and kindness towards all individuals. There was a control group that had done no meditation and a group of loving-kindness meditators. Blood samples were collected from each group, and what the lab's results found was that the loving-kindness meditators had a relatively longer telomere length. We are wired to be and behave compassionately. It is innate within us. The night that I almost lost my life, I was birthed into a new woman. And the compassion and love that was deposited in me by my close network and myself has been a catalyst of personal and professional growth. And you don't need to be a nurse or go to Haiti, Bangladesh, or Guatemala to behave compassionately. Here in Oakland, you can be at your favorite restaurant, having a meal, and you see someone without a home sitting outside on the bench. In an act of compassion, you can offer them your leftovers. In an act of radical compassion, you can take them the menu and ask them what they specifically desire to eat from it. With every single interaction that we have with ourselves, with another human being, with the earth, with another creature, we get to choose if we want to push a tiny bit more of love and compassion into the world or a massive amount. And I'm a firm optimist that all of us, for the sake of the babies and all of creation, can bring back the love that we so desperately need to this planet. Thank you so much for listening to me.